Okay, so today we're talking about something near and dear to my heart, culture and ethnicity. These are the objectives. I'm not going to go over them, but we're going to talk about what prejudice is, what bias, how to respect people's cultures that are your patients, how to be a good nurse when you are taking care of someone that may not have the same culture or background as you do, okay? Okay, so today I just have this little we're diving into a delicate subject, okay? So I want you guys to remember what you signed as far as your contract on your code of conduct. We're gonna be very, very respectful of people's ideas, okay? Lots of us have different ideas, but we're gonna be respectful of others, okay? We're gonna communicate effectively, appropriately with words. We're not gonna have that face like, what did she just say? Okay? We're trying, this is good practice, okay? Because when we're out there and we're dealing with patients and they're saying stuff or doing stuff that you're like, what? You're gonna try and keep that face. What is that called? Poker face. Poker face, thank you. I almost said ghost face, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Poker face. Okay. We're not debating what's right, what's wrong, okay? We're just sharing our ideas. Everybody can speak freely without judgment. You're in a safe space here. What we discuss in this room won't go out, and we won't be talking about it in the bathroom or this and that, chit-chatting about what they said. It'll be student-led, so I'm gonna, pass it over to you guys. I wanna hear from you. I don't wanna do all the talking. I'm gonna ask you to take out some scratch paper if you don't mind, or you can use the back of your slides if you have slides, because I'm gonna have you do a couple activities. It's not my intention to offend anyone, I'm just kind of presenting this data, and hopefully it won't be offensive to anybody. Like I said, everything will stay in this class between us and Professor Staley and I. And like I said, no talking in the bathroom. If you want to speak, please raise your hand, because we have a lot of hot topics that people want to talk about. Try not to cut other people off when we're talking, okay? Okay, so let's get started. Who is your inspiration, right? Why did you want to become a nurse? Who do you guys think that is?
Florence Nightingale.
Florence Nightingale, right? Maybe not? No, that's not Florence Nightingale. This is Florence Nightingale, okay? You're right, she's a little bit older. This is my grandma, okay? She was a nurse. She graduated in Missouri, Central Missouri, in 1951. Yep.
Wait,
So,
you guys look alike.
she has blue eyes. My dad has blue eyes. They were all blue eyes, blonde hair, and my mom has brown eyes, and that's a stronger trait. So I got the brown eyes, but yes. So that's my grandma. She was a nurse, very inspiring. Can you imagine being a nurse in 1951 and what kind of things you had to work with, and like their syringes were made out of glass and all these things, reusable needles and crazy stuff. So remember why we're here. Why are we in nursing school? Why do we want to be a nurse? Okay? So her name is Anna. My daughter is Cassidy is her first name, and Anna for this grandma, and then Maria, the one that just died. So Cassidy and Maria Hernandez. Because my grandmas are so special to me. So, okay, so we're gonna do an activity, and what I want you to do is write down on your paper what's the first thing that comes to your head when you think of nurse. One word, could be any word, but just one, okay? Don't write out a sentence, just write one word, nurse, what you think of nurse. Okay, and when you have that word, go ahead and write it on the board, and it doesn't matter if there's another one on the board, you can write it on any one of the boards all around. The word that you think of when you hear nurse. Don't worry about what other people are writing, just write
No mustard. I thought it was shots.
As you're sitting down, look around and see kind of is there a common theme? Are we seeing one word more than others?
Yes. There's caring, there's helper.
Compassion.
Caring, compassion, helpful, helping, knowledgeable. That's true. We have integrity, good words. Over here, it's also empathy, helper, compassionate, hardworking. Shots, mom over there, heart, nurture, involved. Very good. So is it a little bit difficult to think of one word that describes a nurse? Yeah, we have so many great qualities for all of these things. So when it comes to talking about nursing, we're very compassionate, right? We care for others, we're helpful, we're just a lot of things in one. So it's hard to describe us with just one word. Okay, so now I want you guys to take that same scratch paper and describe yourself in one word. Okay? What do you want? Are you done? No, it's fine. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard.
She said one.
Yeah, just take one. Everybody done? Why is it taking you so long? No, everybody. Everybody that's not done. So it's supposed to take a while. How can we describe ourselves with one word? So how are we judging people just by looking at them? We can't. You guys are all so wonderful. There's so many wonderful qualities you have that it's almost impossible to describe yourself with one word. So when we are taking care of people, we cannot make judgments of them, okay? Just on appearance, okay? We need to be open, and we don't know what's going on in their lives, so we need to be respectful and listen to what they have to say, okay? So we know what was harder, right? It was harder to describe yourself with one word than a nurse, okay? Like I said, sometimes we see ourselves differently than other people do. We're too modest, sometimes we don't wanna brag. I'm super smart. Some people are super smart, but they're not gonna say that. And then with such a big question like that, we kind of go blank, like, what should I say? I don't know what's good about me. And then sometimes we're very private people and we're not comfortable with sharing the answer to those questions, okay? And like I said, it's because we're so wonderful. There's so many amazing things about us that you don't know what to say. What amazing thing, okay? So let's do a practice question. Is the following statement true or false? Currently, there's a movement. If you know the answer, raise your hand. Currently, there's a movement toward acultural nursing care. What do you think? Is that true or false? Jamila?
I thought it's false.
Acultural nursing? Okay. What does aseptic technique mean? Without. Very good. Without. So, oh no. So what were you gonna say, Amanda?
I was going to say that's false because we're trying to give more individualized care, which takes their culture into account.
That's right. So it is false, okay? Kind of tricky there. Currently there's a movement toward promoting cultural, sensitive nursing care and eliminating acultural nursing. Someone said asepsis means without the A in front of the substance. So we don't want to be acultural nursing. We don't want to do that, okay? A without. So we do aseptic techniques so we don't get any germs, right? It's asepsis because we don't want germs there. Okay, so look at this picture of me and what you know about me from the lab, and think about all those words that you would describe me. You don't have to say them out loud. And then look at this picture and what did you find out today just by looking at the picture, okay? And then I'll share what's reality, okay? Okay, so I'm a wife and mother of 3. My husband's Mario. My kids are Maverick is the oldest. He's 12 now in this picture, like 3 years ago, 9. My littlest one is Hendrix, he's 8. And then my daughter, her name's Cassidy, she's 9. Okay. And my husband's, like I said, Mario. I'm Hispanic. Does anybody know? I mean, maybe for my last name it gave it away, but that's not even why I'm Hispanic. Yeah. So my mother, she's from South America. She's from Colombia. And so she taught me the love of the Colombian culture. I was in Colombian dance groups. I love to learn the Spanish language. I love to eat the Colombian food. And did any of you know that about me? No. Right? Okay, I speak Spanish. I've only ever lived in this state my whole entire life. I've never moved anywhere. I've traveled, but to live only in Kansas. Middle class. I've always had my mom and dad. They've always been a part of my life. Very important figures. I'm Christian. I was a B average student. I wasn't one of those ones that excelled and was on all the honor classes. I was not that. It took me a lot of work to get the grades that I got. I feel like sometimes reading was hard. I got distracted easily, and now there's a lot of resources for people like that. But back then, many, many years ago, when I was in school, it was hard for me to concentrate. And then I already knew that I wanted to be a nurse by my sophomore year in high school. So I got out of high school, went right into KU. I went right into like the nursing focus program. I tried my hardest to get all my good grades because I knew to get in nursing school I had to have a 3.6. So I was very, very focused when I went to school. And it helped because my roommate was very smart. So she was always studying, and I'm like, shoot, she's studying, I should probably study too. So, and family is the most important thing to me. Okay? Okay, so let's share some of our cultural habits we practice. What do you guys see in the upper right-hand corner? What does that look like to you? Maybe some of you are aware of it. Any guesses? So in Colombia, we drink hot chocolate and we put like mozzarella cheese inside. And it melts the cheese and it is so delicious. But a lot of people think that's so weird. My husband's like, my daughter too, she won't do it. Yeah.
Is your husband, like
Mexican.
what? Okay.
Yeah.
That's what
He's from Querétaro, Mexico. And he came here probably, we've been married 16 years, probably 20 years ago. So he loves spicy food, right?
Yes.
When we think of people that are of the Mexican culture, they love spice, and he's one of those. He can eat spicy. And when he tells me, Natalie, that's not spicy, I'm like, okay, this is spicy because yeah, it's gonna be spicy. So I don't trust him. What about this tradition of putting a quarter on the belly button? Does anybody's culture, or have you heard of this before? Yeah. In Africa, you said? Yeah. African? Yeah. And do you know why?
It works.
So to help, when they have the umbilical cord, that belly button's kind of popped out, so they put the quarter and they tape it on so it doesn't pop out. This is also very big in the Hispanic culture. Okay? They do that as well. Just to prevent it from popping out, from having an outie. They want it in. Okay? And then there's also something like my mother-in-law, she's like if something happened and the baby was young, Natalie, did you eat pork? I'm like, I don't think I ate pork. Well, the baby might be sick because you ate pork. And I'm like, I don't think so. And they're probably getting this because of undercooked meat, not necessarily pork, or if anybody has anything to share about that. But, I'm like, probably not. That's probably not why my child has a little cough. Okay, what are some of your examples? I want at least everybody to talk at least once during this presentation, because we need to feel comfortable talking in front of others, okay? As a nurse, we're gonna be talking in front of families and with patients, so you have to get comfortable. Hey Raquel, let's hear your example.
My mom always told me if I went out with wet hair, I would get sick.
So true. So true. You're like,
Is it?
anybody else have that?
Yeah.
Your mom's like, what'd you say?
Is it true?
No! I
Yeah.
don't
I'm like,
no,
is
it's not true.
Because I still or like being barefoot after
Right.
taking a
Right.
shower.
Barefoot
Like,
after a shower. Right, no, not true.
yeah.
Not
Can
true.
I tell you something to that, culture wise?
Uh-huh.
with my coach,
Yeah.
we just met, that is true. You can't go outside with wet hair, I can't, cause I'm 4C, very curly, my hair take a very long time to dry. And if it's like 40 degrees outside, I can just wash my hair and hop out,
Yeah.
and then get ready for work and run outside, and my hair is still wet, I will catch a cold. Because I'm getting cold, you know how like your hands and feet
Yeah.
and the top of your head.
Right?
So now I'm cold. Longer because my hair is literally still wet because it takes so much longer to dry.
Right, well, that makes sense.
So
Because you're
that,
going
so
hours.
coach, you know what I mean?
Yeah, cause you lose the most heat from your head, right?
Yeah.
And if it's damp for several hours, I mean, maybe it could chill your body,
Yeah.
right? So me, I
And
have
if it's
super
cold
thin-
outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my hair dries in like 5 minutes because I hardly have any hair, right? So we have to think about that kind of stuff. Our patient, you know, we might need to help them dry their hair or something to help them, you know, if they believe that wet hair is gonna make them sick, how can we accommodate them? Okay, what other cultural habits or, things?
What a certain holiday tradition?
Yes, what do you got?
My ancestors were from Sweden, so
Uh-huh.
every year we do a smorgasbord,
Okay,
which is
cool.
like Christmas Eve, and there's traditional Swedish food there. Really bland and disgusting food that we eat it every year.
So on Christmas Eve,
Yes.
you have you said it much beautiful,
Smorgasbord.
smorgasbord. Sweden is her background, and lots of food. Do you guys stay up late or anything on Christmas Eve? No? Okay, so we used to celebrate Christmas Eve until midnight, and then the kids got to open their presents at midnight.
Yes.
And now that we're older, we don't do that anymore, cause we're tired and we wanna go to sleep. Too bad, kids. What other traditions? Tradition, yeah.
So I don't know if everybody's familiar with it, but I'm from Louisiana and we
Okay.
always have Mardi Gras.
Okay, I don't know much about Mardi Gras at all,
Yeah.
just that it's a big party, what else?
Everybody would love it. It's like a big parade you go to, everybody's drinking, throwing beads, don't bring your kids because there's things everywhere. Or breast, sorry. And, also, I think it's just, I don't know if it's tradition or not, but you just have to eat gumbo at every meal, every holiday, every like
Really?
seafood gumbo or gumbo just in general.
Yeah. You say you throw salt?
Salt.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd say
salt.
we
Okay.
outside.
So none of they spirit
Let's see if they come back.
So somebody that did you wrong or something, left your house, you throw salt so they'll never come.
Or if they have bad intentions.
That's so interesting, yeah. Sorry.
We have a tradition in our family to where like wherever we move into like a new house or an apartment, we always like bless it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Like if that is, hey, did you bless your house before you put your things in there? So yeah.
A blessing before you go, yeah. That's amazing. Rachel.
So, what she was saying about the snow, have you guys ever heard of like if you draw a turtle in the sand and it rains?
No, turtle in the sand to make it rain. That's amazing.
I don't know.
Do you think it came from, where'd you hear that from, or you're not sure?
My
You just
mom
heard-
would always tell me.
She would
that.
tell you that.
And it never rained the next day.
Yeah.
We have a tradition where if someone dies, you don't touch their stuff for like 3 days. So you let them take what they want of it, like the spirit of it. So yeah, 3 days, and then you can touch it and move stuff around. And then they always tell you to like change up your house, so they don't know what it looks like, just so they won't like try to visit you. And if they visit you, you tell them like in a dream, you let them know that they've died.
Interesting.
Huh.
So see, we're learning about these between us, so that way if we ever get a patient that says something like this, you know, we could be a little bit, understanding, right? Sharing our traditions with each other. Okay, another activity, okay? What's the first thing that comes to mind? I'm gonna display a couple words up there and I want you to write the first thing. We're going to try and recognize our prejudices, our biases when we see these words, think about these people, okay?
As we continue down the list of all the different categories, such as, for example, what students thought when they heard immigrant was one. another drag queen. They had to put the first thing that popped into their mind to recognize any bias they might have over this type of patient. That way they can be aware of it, know that it's there, and hopefully instead of reacting, they can be conscious and they can be sensitive to these types of patients that they might not be familiar with, but they are recognizing the bias they might have towards them.
I wanna share for Imogen.
Yeah.
When people hear that you're an immigrant, they ask, do you speak English? And I'm like, oh yes, I do speak English. It's actually my first language. So yeah, a lot of people get confused. They automatically think you don't speak English.
Right, right. And if they would just talk to you, they would know.
Yes.
I speak English, right? Right. Anything else anybody wants to share about it? Oh, yes, Raquel.
On the opposite side of that,
Yeah.
they'll, like for immigrant,
Yeah.
they'll look at someone and assume that they speak Spanish.
Right.
Or assume that they speak that language.
Right.
Instead of asking if we speak English, they assume, like I always have people come up to me and then they'll just start speaking in Spanish and I'm like, what if I didn't? I do,
Right.
luckily, but why did you just
Mm-hmm.
assume?
Yeah. That's interesting. Were you gonna say something, Kate?
No, what I was gonna say is I feel like a lot of people assume that like if you look Hispanic that you're automatically Mexican,
Yes.
and there's so many other
Yeah.
cultures within.
And in this era of so many things pulling us apart, I think that once we acknowledge and address, we will find out that you and I have a lot more in common than we do not having so many differences. We'll become a richer person for it. Thank you.
So what are some comments from that video that you guys might have? Any takeaways?
So what are great things to do to avoid the bias? Because even though I might take the test and I find out I'm biased, it don't just go away. So like to move forward in a positive way without being biased, but still wanting to learn about the person, do you do stuff like, hey, how you doing today? What'd you eat last night? Or
Yeah,
what do
make
you like to do
conversation,
fun?
get to know them, exactly. You know, we all are biased and, you know, learning from people, talking to people, it can help us change a little bit, but, yeah, just opening up to them, being willing to talk to them, learn about them, that will help. Yeah. Any other comments or questions about the video?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. So I have a comment about bias. I think, I could be wrong, y'all, but
It's
this is,
okay.
so, on like a level, like we have conversations on bias in a lot of environments. When we go to our jobs, there may be some sort of training on bias,
Right.
right? The thing that screams out to me is bias against against blacks and whites, right? And even in this video, she used an example of like a white name, Allison versus Latoya or Latanya, right? Even that is implanting something that I feel like we need to be more conscious of. Why didn't we say Maria?
Yeah.
Why didn't we say
After this TED Talk on implicit bias, the class had a really great discussion lasting about 10 minutes regarding why are we still comparing blacks to whites. Students were suggesting that this is so talked about that we're influencing people's ideas about the black and white issue and planting ideas in their head. The student commented, why are we not comparing whites to Asians or whites to Hispanics? Why does it always have to be we're comparing whites to blacks? And so Professor Staley was in and she had a really good comment. She commented that in our nation, just recently, 60s and 70s, we had just ended this segregation. And so a lot of people that still are alive or have experienced this A student made a comment that her grandmother went to an all-white school. Her great uncle, drank from a water fountain that didn't say for whites only, and his dad came home and gave him a beating for doing that. But as we continued this great discussion, we also talked about the future and how we are already seeing change. A student made a comment about we now have had a black president. We have a female vice president who's now running for the presidency. Hopefully in the future, that will no longer be the norm where our children or our parents were the ones that had to go through this segregation because of the color of their skin. So it was just very inspiring how these students, it took about 10 minutes, and they were discussing this issue back and forth, and they did a really, really great job. I was very proud of them.
We're gonna play a game. It's like blackout bingo. And I'm gonna pass out this paper, and you're gonna put your name at the top of the paper. You're gonna look over the paper and see what applies to you, okay? So for example, one of the things is my parents/grandparents are immigrants, so I can sign my name in that box. But I can only put, if this is a Leah sheet, if this is your sheet, I can only put my name in one box. So you gotta go find somebody else to fill up the other boxes. Does that make sense? Okay. And the first person that fills up all the boxes gets a Twizzlers. Okay, so I'm gonna pass these out and we'll.
So during this lesson, I had all the students get up out of their chairs and fill out categories such as I'm a vegetarian, I speak 2 languages, my parents are immigrants, so that students had to go around and find another student in their class. Each of the categories had to have a different peer. They couldn't use the same peer for multiple categories.
Thanks for sharing. Yes, Raquel.
I was born in California.
Okay.
And then I lived in Florida for a year for school. And then went back to California. And then I moved San Diego. And then I lived in Pensacola, Florida. And then I went back to San Diego. And then now I'm here. Well, actually, I went to Olathe and now I'm
So
here.
what brought you to Kansas after Florida? and
And my
California?
boyfriend.
Boyfriend.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh no, I was in San Diego. It's too expensive to live in San Diego.
Amani.
Virginia.
Military? Or no? Virginia's common for me.
Okay, what about lived in another country before? Yeah, goody.
Yeah, I'm from Ethiopia.
Ethiopia, okay.
I've been here about 12 years ago.
Nice. Your English is so good too.
Not bad.
Anybody else lived in another country? Yes, Alex.
I lived in Macedonia.
Macedonia.
Oh,
Came 5 years ago.
It's like white.
Did you study English over there?
Yes, but after I came here, I realized that I don't know English. So I was building my English here.
You're learning a lot. Being immersed in the environment with people, other English speakers, I think helps a lot.
Yes, because there is non-Macedonian. So
Yeah.
just 3 families, that's it.
3 Macedonian families. Who knows where Macedonia is?
No, oh.
Anybody? To be honest, I had to look it up.
I did too.
I did not know where Macedonia was.
Where is it?
By Greece.
It's on Balkan Peninsula.
Ooh, that doesn't
Oh,
have
the Balkan.
Yeah, South Europe.
South
South
Europe.
Europe.
I feel like geography in the United States is very not a focus. Okay, has anybody used an interpreter? Like, I was kind of looking for in the healthcare setting when you have a patient. Yeah, Amani, you were kind of, yeah, tell us about it.
I mean, I've used the online one, like
Okay.
they have the ones where, and then like the easy listening or
Yes.
whatever, and they'll like, well, of course I'll look at the patient, I'll just copy and they'll just be
Okay, so say that louder. You'll do what?
I'll use the online version,
Yeah.
so the way that it works is that you have to scan the person's ID, so they, like ID badge, so they know who they are. And basically, I'm just talking to the patient and they just interpret what I'm saying, but I'm looking at the patient and.
Very important.
Yeah.
She's looking at the patient, she's not looking at the interpreter. She's looking at the patient and talking like if she was talking to the patient. Very important, very good. That's what I wanted to find out. Okay. anybody wants to share on here? What about kids? I always like to know who has kids.
They're not
This is how Rachel put up her hand. That's how I would put up my hand. Actually, honestly, that's hilarious. 3 kids?
I love my kids.
Yes, no, me too. That's right. They're a handful. What are the ages?
Will be 8, 6, and 4 months.
Wow. 4 months.
She just had it.
She said she was pregnant. I did not
She
know
was
that.
pregnant. Sorry.
I
Wow.
think they felt bad.
Oh, she got me back home.
Wow. Wow. Jody, you can give
I
me
had
a
2.
You have 2
2
kids.
girls.
And how old are they?
4 and 1.
4 and 1. Using culturally sensitive techniques. Become familiar with some physical differences among ethnic groups. Perform appropriate skin assessment techniques. Some cultures, they really honor the head, so you need to ask permission before you touch the head. Okay? Ask them about their cultural beliefs, just like we talked about. Never, of course, verbally ridicule someone's belief or cultural practice. And then if it's not harmful, integrate those practices in that plan of care and during your time with them. And then we can tell them, why is it not safe if you're a diabetic and being fasting for 24 hours? We might have to provide education, okay? And then say someone has like a religious medallion, ask permission before you take that off, okay? Because they have meaning. Culturally preferred food, advocate for routine screening, facilitate rituals by healers. So if you know someone's Catholic, you can maybe call in a priest, have them do a blessing or a prayer. If we do, like I was talking about the bindi being taken off the forehead, just apologize, say, I'm sorry that we have to do this, we'll make sure that you can get it back on after, but for this reason, explain. Try and learn a second language. And what are some ways that you guys can learn about other cultures here in Kansas City? Yeah, asking, talking about it. What else? What about, what month are we in right now?
November.
I'm sorry, I'm ready for Thanksgiving. I'm sorry.
So it's Hispanic Heritage Month right now, and there's so many events going on all around the city about the Hispanic heritage, Irish Fest, all those things. Go take part. Like the lady said in the video, Kwanzaa celebrations. Go find out. Go experience all that. That way, when you have a patient that practices these cultural things, you can help and talk about it and learn. What questions do you guys have? Thank you so much for participating.